the heart of the city of Berlin, thousands of people are gathering today peacefully to send a signal to the German government against the COVID-19 restrictions, which are in many people's view way too extreme, not necessary, and violates fundamental human rights and dismantle democracy. The organization behind it, called Querdenken, translated as critical thinking, highlighted very specifically on their website this week that this should be the most peaceful demonstration ever, and that all participants should be respecting the guidelines set out by the city council.
Well, that was an outstanding report that we were lucky enough to publish yesterday. It was produced and filmed by Marijn Poels, who is a freelance journalist who attended a massive protest, a peaceful protest in the main, in Berlin, Germany, against lockdowns and mask laws. Joining us now via Skype from Berlin is Marijn Poels. Well, what a pleasure to have you do on-the-ground journalism for us in Europe. Because of the pandemic, we can't travel there. It's great to have you on the ground for us. Thanks for doing that.
Well, thanks for letting me. It was good to do it, and I think it's important enough to, to find that connection, and we did. So, yeah.
Well, that was excellent. And although this is, I believe, our first interview, I know you've talked to my colleague Sheila Gunn-Reid in the past about some of your other work. Just to tell our viewers who may not be familiar with that, tell us a little bit about some of the past journalism and documentaries that you've produced.
Yeah, I'm mainly an independent, it's still existing, an independent documentary maker. And I covered documentaries about climate change, whereby I'm, visiting both sides, which I think it's journalistic very interesting to do, to ask these questions: why are you pro, why are you anti, and stranding somewhere in the middle. And the second film is Paradogma. It's about tribalism, which we're facing today. And currently, I'm working on the third independent story called Return to Eden. Will be released in 2 weeks, I guess, on YouTube, which is about it's all about coming home, and I think that's it's about time to come home as humanity and find our home and our existence in this turbulent times. So yeah. The last 15 years, I made documentaries mainly in development countries, I must say, and nowadays I'm trying to report the situations where we're in today. It's a turbulent time, and it's very interesting journalistically spoken to cover it and to find somewhere in the middle in the common ground.
Well, I was very impressed with the quality of your work, and it was very even-handed. You spoke to both sides. I would encourage our viewers to watch the full video report you did. It's almost 10 minutes long. It's on our YouTube channel. One of the most interesting moments was when you talked to left-wing protesters who said that people who are worried about wearing masks, people who are worried about the lockdown, they're Nazis. For sure. She was so adamant that they were actual members of the Nazi Party. And I can only imagine how powerful an accusation that is in Germany. I mean, it's an absurdly powerful and sharp insult in Canada, the United States. But in Germany, that's like dropping a bomb on someone. When you pressed her, she really didn't have a good answer. Here, let's play that clip right here.
Why are you standing here today?
I'm standing here because I can't allow that Nazis and fascists are marching together with these weird, crazy people from QAnon here in Berlin. And they are here in the thousands, and I just cannot allow this to happen without protesting against it.
Well, why do you think they're Nazis?
Well, it's quite obvious, like all the really right-wing, right extremist fascist groups have mobilized today here. So like huge parts of the group of the demonstrations are just against the coronavirus, like what Merkel did and everything. But like a lot of right-wing groups mobilized here today, and they're very obviously right-wing and right extremist groups and fascists. So they're here, like you can see it. You see their shirts, you see their tattoos.
What's the solution?
Well, that's hard to say. I mean, people can believe in all kinds of stupid shit, but they should not march together with Nazis. So I think that's the bottom line.
You were very patient with her, and I think that proved that she was just there to call names. I find that that's how a lot of the left works these days. You say that you like to hear both sides. I don't think that protester there actually listened to the legitimate complaints of the protesters. I think she came in with her narrative that these were evil people on the far right. And in fact, there were people of all different backgrounds there. Tell us a little bit about who you saw there.
Yeah, I think, I didn't take that too much serious what she was saying to me, but, as I am a journalist, I try to cover both sides, and that's what I did. But what I saw was the opposite of Nazism, the opposite of, nationalism. It was a quite diverse public. It had nothing to do with left, right. It has, the horizontal fight wasn't there. It was just from, we the people against the politics, against the media. And that whole protest was so peaceful. And I did try to find some Nazis, and I did try to find some right-wing extremists, but to be honest, I couldn't find them. But nowadays in Germany, when you walk with a German flag, you are a right-wing extremist, and I think that's kind of yeah.
Well, in fact, the most surprising thing in your report, it just hit me. I was not ready for it. Was a guest appearance by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I regard as a left-wing activist in the United States. I know he's an environmental activist. And I don't think he would be attending any Nazi rally in Germany, I can tell you that. Let's play a quick clip of RFK Jr., who I had no idea was concerned about pandemic panics. Here's a quick clip of this from your report for us.
They're going to report that, yes, I was here and that I spoke to maybe 3,000 to 5,000 Nazis. I see people of every color. I see people from every nation, every religion, all caring about human dignity, about children's health, about political freedom. This is the opposite of Nazism.
You know what? My esteem for him has grown. How did the mainstream media in Germany cover this icon of the American left? Maybe not the far left, but he's certainly a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy all the way down. They're a famous liberal family. How did the mainstream media in Germany handle his presence there?
They didn't. They didn't at all, because this is a very dangerous speech for the mainstream media, because what he was saying, I was left in tears after the speech, I must say, and everybody surrounding me were quite hit by what he said, and this is a very dangerous thing for the media to and all the tapes of the mainstream media weren't running on that particular time. They did wrote about it, and then they said, there weren't so many interesting speakers, except Kennedy was good, but they didn't say what he was trying to say. And, I think that was very important, that what he was saying is that, this is our common ground. We are trying to get our lives back, and we don't want pandemics which kind of are being instrumentalized by politicians. We don't want to, lose too much freedom and give too much power to the government. And I think that was an outstanding speech. And the media, they're not writing about it, and this should be. It was an historical moment, because his uncle stand there when the wall came down and spoke the words "Ich bin ein Berliner," and he said that again a couple of decades later. Mm-hmm. So it was quite historical, but the mainstream media could take that story and make it a story of hope and inspiration. But on the other side, they took, they were focused on the uproar. People were making uproar. There weren't many, but as a huge event as that, always happening, some little uproars, and they are focusing fully on these moments, and they just really. It's a shame, actually, to see that the media is stranded in this kind of a narrative, that they, they're not belonging to the people anymore. That's the bottom line, I guess, and that's very shameful. And And that's why I felt the urge to, go in the field with my camera and report the sites which I was seeing. And I think it's a very honest display of what happened that day.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.